What's good, y'all? My name is Sadiq Ranks, and today we're going to be speaking about black media stars, and the integration of cultural information into cultural entertainment. And I'm very excited. Last two videos have done very well, so I'm very excited of how the channel trajectory right now. If y'all haven't subscribed, subscribe now. If you have to like the video, go like the video. If you didn't like the previous videos, man, go like the previous video. Let's get into the video. Black media stars, y'all have built a platform comprised of black people and now have the opportunity to not only provide entertaining content, but hopefully bridge the gap to provide informational yet entertaining content. And that's what I'm challenging in this video. I'm going to explain why you should implement this and how to implement this and what will be the result of it. Okay, I'm going to initialize three things. First thing is new media.
Platform for granted. Hand me the water. It's too many cameras. It's too much big business here, and there's too many eyes that's come from this. That's the beauty of me going to link with my brother in Miami, Nori, is that when you come to New York, you know we lit over here. When we go to Miami, you lit over there. That's the beauty of black media, right, or new media. Just not controlled media. Old archaic voices with old controlled, contrived opinions. We get to hear from us.
Definition of Oxford Dictionary: new media is the means of mass communication using digital technologies such as the internet. The way that I want to kind of create my own synopsis of new media is, I look at like streamers, I look at podcasts, I look of like new independent internet shows, right? Like Club Shay Shay, or like the Stephen A. Smith show, or even like Tucker Carlson on X, right? I think this new wave of media that's not just in a traditional sense where you would see like CNN network and you see all these different heads on these different networks. Nah, you see their own kind of shows now, their own platforms, and they still might be sponsored, but yet they still have their own platform. And I think it leads into black media, right, where we see a lot of these black media stars kind of creating their own. That's where you see like Joe Budden. That's where you see like Kai Cenat has his own platform. Not his own platform, but he's on Twitch, but he's built such a huge brand that it's as if he can make his own platform. Now, when it comes to initializing black media, I want to use two different stipulations. One stipulation is being produced by a black person. If the media is being put out by a black person, that's one. And two, if it has the black ear, right? So like Joe Budden's podcast, as I said, produce black ear, right? Academics, produce black ear, right? When we think of like Candace Owens, which I think is be a great example, yes, it's produced black, but does she have the black ear? I don't know. Doesn't mean that her podcast is bad. I love how it's produced. Beautifully produced podcast. I might disagree with her a lot of different things, but that podcast is an amazing podcast. Second example is Adam 22, right? Adam 22, No Jumper podcast, right, is not produced by a black person, right? Adam is not black, right? But he has the black ear. I do not consider that black media, right? So as we're going into this conversation, as it develops further, those are my stipulations on how I'm kind of assessing it. And it can change, but this is just how I am assessing it at this moment. Now, the three names that I'm typically going to be focusing on is Academics, Joe Budden, and Kai Cenat. This is because when I did my survey of people on my Instagram of saying, all right, who do y'all go to as who are your media stars? Who are your biggest media stars that you go to? You hear some news drops, you're going to go to that person because you want to hear them, right? It's interesting because people thought when I think of that, they think of like influencers or entertainers, which makes sense. And I left it open-ended to hear what people would say. A lot of people said like Chunks in Philly. A lot of people said some UK people like I think it's like the courtroom or the pink courtroom or something like that, right? And I'm not gonna be using these names because they're not huge stars to me, right? It's a little bit more YouTube niche, like influencer. I think Kai has transcended that. I think Academics and Joe has transcended that. And it's weird because when I'm thinking of like trying to pick out different names as well, not a lot of women are coming up, right? except for like when I'm thinking of it, like think of hard, I think of like Angela Yee, which is like not, that big for me, or like Oprah or Gayle King. But even thinking about these different names as well, like I'm thinking of who does Gen Z and late millennials listen to, and I don't know if they're running to Gayle King or Oprah for this type of information or conversation. So those are the three things I initialized, right? One, new media. Two, black media. Three, why aren't women that prevalent in this conversation right now? And they're going to be prevalent later on, but at this moment, they're not as much. Let's go. All right, so I told you I was going to tell you why and how to implement this, right? So I'm going to break it down into three different parts. You have the problem, the solution, and the result, right? The problem is money, right? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because black people, black wealth is drowning.
Tonight in the audience, because we often hear the stat that by 2053, the collective wealth of African Americans will be at zero. Do you think we'll be able to ever bridge the gap?
We've done all these different calculations looking at the trends in the government data around the black-white wealth gap. If it continues on pace with how it changed the last 3 years, what will happen? If it continues on pace from the past 20 years, at these paces, we're talking like 100 years before the gap would be closed, before a typical white family would have the same amount of money as a typical black family. It's a long time off unless there are leaps and bounds and changes. One of the single biggest factors in the gap is that white Americans have been investing their money differently than black Americans. And so a change in that would have an impact.
Meaning that all of our black celebrities, all of our black billionaires, the billions of dollars that we're getting, and the new black billionaires that are being created, no matter what, black people's wealth is going to be at 0% by that time. That means if you add it up all in aggregate, because there's going to be so many people in debt, so many people of our people are losing, right, and are declining, we are in aggregate going to be at 0% wealth by that time, right? On top of that, right, a lot of these black media stars that I said primarily have black male audiences. Well, black men are applying to college less, going to college less, right, graduating at a lesser rate than most other counterparts when it comes to males and women in general. And it's alarming because, obviously everybody's like, oh, well, college, but I mean, college is one of the main adversaries for getting out of poverty and main adversaries for actually attaining money within America. Check these statistics. I'm not going to argue with that because it's clear in your face. It's still 27. Black people make 27% up of college degrees, and white people make up 42% of college degrees. So I mean, there's no point in even arguing that, but it's a fact of the matter is that a lot of your audience, a lot of these black media stars, right, like Kai Cenat, Joe, Ack, most of their audiences are underperforming, right? Or the new generation that's getting ushered in are underperforming, right? So a lot of these people that are tuning in, right, indirectly or directly, a lot of these black media stars are profiting off of misery, because simultaneously, not only are these black media stars putting out forth entertaining content, while these guys are being entertained, they are performing less, making less, and ultimately amounting to less, by society and Western standards. Now, to the black media stars out there, right, why should you care? There's a couple of reasons why you should care. One, I mean, this is your uncles, this is your brothers, this is your family, this is your community. If they lose, you lose, right? But even if you don't care about your family, your community, right, which would suck, and which would ultimately be corny. Number two is that it would be beneficial for you to want your audience to flourish, right? If they win, you win. If you have a Patreon and a lot of your audience does not have enough expendable cash to donate to your Patreon, then you would want them to hopefully increase their income by 10,000, 20,000, right? Hopefully increase their wealth, their family household wealth by that much, so they can have expendable cash, so it makes more money for you as a producer. Same thing as in, like, all right, you're a streamer, Kai Cenat's a streamer, right? Let's say a lot of these kids that are subscribing, they don't have the money to subscribe, but they want to subscribe to their favorite streamer, right? When they're asking their parents and stuff like that, but their parents don't have it, or they're on their last dime and stuff like that, they're not going to give that because it's not expendable cash. But let's say they have a little bit more expendable cash to give, which is why maybe why a lot of white streamers are able to propel as well, right? Is because a lot of those households have a lot more expendable cash, right? So it makes sense as a creator why you'd want your audience to flourish on a money standpoint. Solution time.
I mean, I look kind of crazy. Hi.
Everybody want to talk what's the problem and stuff like that, but nobody want to talk solution. Well, I got the solution for you, right? It's influence. This is how we're going to get it done. I first want to say that the top players in the league dictate what the league standards are going to be, right? LeBron's going to be able to make that Adam Silver call. He's going to be like, yo, that got to stop. It's the same way that a lot of these top players within the media game are able to dictate what they want to talk about. Their audience is going to follow them no matter what. I know this because I'm a loyal follower of a lot of these different podcasts. I'm going to watch most of the time. Doesn't matter the iterations, as long as it's pretty good, as long as I'm still getting what I want from my creator, which is probably their entertaining personality. It doesn't really matter exactly what they're going to be talking about. It's about I'm there for them, and that's the core audience that we should be focusing on regardless. Ooh, I hope that flurry of flies is not coming at me right now. When I was talking to my dad about this video idea, he was like, it's going to be hard to speak about Earn Your Leisure and Joe Budden podcast and kind of comparing the two because it's like oil and water. And that's because Earn Your Leisure, right, is a business-focused podcast that's really not entertainment at all. And you have Joe Budden's podcast, which is primarily just entertainment, right? And I like to disagree with that, right? At the time that which makes it very personal to me as a media student, but also as a person that watches both, I came into EYL a year after they started, which was around like 2020, and I started watching Joe Budden's podcast at the same time. You think of like their age audiences is really from like, Joe's is probably like 18 to 40, and EYL is probably like 20 to 40 as well, and up. So it's interesting to think like this is the same type of age demographic. They're already within a hip hop sphere, right? So this is still their target audience. These audiences interlap because EYL is so business friendly, and that's their core. Doesn't mean that most of their references, most of their catchphrases and stuff like that is very hip hop centered. Most of their business know-how, their conversations, right, has to do with a sports reference, right? Same thing, which a lot of those references is spoken about on the Joe Budden podcast. So that's how I know that a lot of these audiences can interlap, and it's really about what the creator wants to bring to their audience. And I think Joe is very unique in his voice, and I think no matter what, he'll be able to bridge that gap and not make it corny, right? But also, what does it look like? So, for example, I'm gonna go back to Kai. This is an example of what I think that Kai could use that would definitely be beneficial and definitely move the needle for mad kids that are growing up and trying to make it in this world, right? For example, let's say it's college application time, right? So it's around October, September, December, right? And the ideas around this is like, all right, Kai picks a day, October 27th, yo. October 27th, this is what we're going to do. We're going to invite Common App, somebody from Common App, right? And we're going to have a stream, 3-hour stream, and we're going to have this person walk you through the Common App process for all these new incoming students that want to be able to do it, but they might not have the resources to, may not know, and the resources or the know-how, or the school might not have the resources or the know-how, but yet we're going to have our favorite streamer come over here and get a lot of high school students admitted into college, or at least applying to get into college, right? And the reason why I say this is because Kai Cenat went to college. I remember seeing his videos when he was at, I think, the same college that one of my uncles went to in New York. The reason why I bring up the Common App is because this is just only a small little detail of how. Think about it, 60 to 50,000 people on his stream, right? Let's say because he announced it that Common App was gonna come over here, let's say only 10,000 people show up. That means only like 4,000 people, and I'm being very generous with these numbers. Only 4,000 people, right, that actually sat there with the Common App guy and Kai, going through what you need to put down in order to fill this out, right? But those 4,000 students, you don't think that moves a needle? You don't think that adds a lot within our community? It does. I'm telling you, it does. And let's say, all right, Kai just gave 20,000 to the dude that got left at the Omelay concert, right? Let's say he paired with Common App, got a sponsor, threw 20,000 and goes, yo, I'm gonna waive these application fees for all these students that just filled this out on this day. Bro, that moves a needle. That moves a needle for our community. And I'm not saying that he has to do it. This strip spans to everybody, but I'm just giving y'all the ideas of like, yo, this does not have to look like some corny ass, like, all right, we're gonna do a week seminar of how to get into college. No, it don't have to be that clear cut. It don't have to be that clear cut. It could literally look like Kai going, yo, this day we're gonna bring somebody from Common App, we're gonna bring somebody from this college, we're gonna walk y'all through the process if you wanna do it. If you don't, cool, that's fine. But this is what we're gonna do during October. That moves a needle, right? And it doesn't have to just be college as well. I mean, like let's go to Joe. We're thinking with Joe, I'm like, yo, I remember during COVID, right, when he was speaking a lot about Bitcoin and stuff like that. So Joe himself was getting educated on Bitcoin. He was getting educated on money in general, right? And that I think that was a product of like Cash App and that deal and that partnership and whatnot. I'll be staying tapped in. But it's interesting because it's like, don't you want your audience to grow with you? Right, so when we speak about this stuff, and he had on people already, like he had on the Master Investor, you had Ian, and I think EYL went on as well. So he's tapped into the space, but it's like, all right, how do we make it a little bit more incentivized for these people, your audience, to actually do something, right? So I think Joe already has a huge, powerful voice that as soon as he talks about something, a lot of his audience is automatically going to look. Right, they're going to look in that place, and I think that's also a benefit of having an older audience, that they're a little bit more perceptive to a lot of the things that he speaks about, right? And he knows that as well. He knows the power of an audience. I don't think Kai knows the power of his audience as much as yet. Yes, all that shit happened with New York, but think of how much stuff that he could do, knowing that he influences this much kids all around the world. That's such a power. That's such an influence. That's such an opportunity to be had, right? Let me give you another example for Joe and Kai, right? Let's think about voting, right? I don't care who your political. Actually, I do care, but aside from that, to be bipartisan, right? Which Kai and Joe would probably do, right? If they wanted to be bipartisan and goes, yo, I don't care who y'all vote for. This is what we're gonna do though. On this day, we're all gonna go out and register to vote. You don't know how to register to vote? Perfect. I got this person right here that can explain everything for you. They do this already. They already have a bunch of different interviews. They already have a bunch of different people that come on and not educate but entertain, right? But all I'm asking for is a couple of days out the year. A couple of days out the year, and think about how much actually like can be changed. I got a clip from Roland Martin that I want to play when he speaks about something like this, and I'm going to play it for y'all.
So we are frozen out of this economic system. And so how do we now counter it? You got to have policymakers who are using their power to change it. The Democrats in the Senate need to bring all those white ad agencies to the table and say, why y'all not spending with black-owned media companies? Why is it still 1%? We have to understand how to use power. We don't even vote in school board elections. You got 9 people in the school board. You get 5 of those people, you now control the next bond. You now control who gets hiring. You now can make demands when it comes to contracts. In New York State, when Carl McCall was the controller, you know what they did? They actually changed the rules when it came to, no. Y'all can't come and get pension money from us unless y'all got black partners, unless you're using black law firms, unless you're using black accounting firms. So we got to understand the money game and how do we leverage politicians. When I was at TV1, guess who controls the cable contracts? And the city does. The city votes on who has the cable contract. When we would go to those cable companies, try to get TV1 on a local system, they would tell us no. So you know what we would do? We would wait until their contract was up. And then we would go to the black city council members. And the black city council members would say, I'm not voting on this cable contract until y'all put TV One on your system. We leveraged political power to drive economic power.
Well, how do you, so my follow-up,
I don't think y'all hearing him. I don't think y'all hearing him for real. What I'm saying now, what Roland was saying before, is basically power in numbers. And the power in numbers is the fact that we have huge black media stars, right, that have the ability to influence a whole generation of voters and buyers. And the two things, as Roland said, that black people do is vote and we spend. And everybody, all corporations know this, private knows this, everybody knows this, except for us. And it's about how we employing a lot of these black media stars, one, because they profit off of us, right? We make these guys big, we watch them, I watch them, right? Now it's about us holding them accountable and them holding us accountable. How are we, as an audience, going to mobilize? How are they, as stars, going to influence? I use academics, right? Academics is a great example for me, right? Because I see Ack, and the reason why I use a lot of these names is because I watch them. And I see Ack, and I see him on different platforms, and I see his caliber of speaking. Not only is he funny, not only is he influential, but he's very calculated in how he speaks, who he chooses to speak about, what he wants to do. And my thing is, I see him creating this thing, and it makes my eyebrow just curl, because I'm like, bro, why did you double down on hip-hop knowing that you can transcend into so many different things? You see Charlemagne doing it, I see Joe trying to do it, and I'm like, bro, why aren't our media stars trying to transcend this hip-hop, not shackle or ceiling, but it's like, Ack, I've seen you on these different podcasts where you're able to really break down actual key topics, but yet you choose to invest into the academy, and the academy is like, they're not as good as you, and you've started to hit a ceiling. To me, it's just a little bit sad, because I'm like, I see academics as has the ability to really talk to and become one of these huge stars. And not just a star within black media, but a star within new media. And I wonder as to why he still doesn't see that for himself, or if he does see it for himself, why he chose this way. But I'm here to breathe a little bit of life, because I know that all these creators can do it. I wouldn't be saying their names if they can't. My thing is, with the academy, it's as if he kind of invested into a new No Jumper when we see how No Jumper kind of ended up. Right, and not only is it just low vibrational, but it's like, people like Ack is because he can speak and he's very coherent, and people like his takes on hip hop, but people also like his takes on a lot of general things. They like to hear him speak. None of the people that he's employed on the academy is at the same caliber or handles those topics in the same way. So why invest into a dying space? I'm not saying hip-hop. I'm saying that No Jumper, low vibrational, low rapper tier conversations when it's like, bro, you should actually really be having conversations like Charlemagne. Joe should also really be having conversations like Charlemagne. To wrap that up, I don't want to see Ack beefing with me. I don't want to see Ack keep breaking down the same topic over Diddy. Actually, I do want to see that conversation. Right, but I'm saying as if I see PBD, which is Patrick Bet David Entertainment, all of them start doing town halls of actual presidential candidates, and I go, I'm not going to lie. Give Act 2 years of actual information, people prepping him, giving him talking points, actually doing this. Give Charlemagne people that can actually talk, or give Mark Lamont Hill and all these guys to prep these guys, bro, and you would have the same type of situation. If you watch the PBD podcast, it's not like they have the smartest guys on that pod, but yet they break down actual complex issues. These are not the smartest guys in the world. They're not. So why are we acting as if, and why are we shying away from it? We should be heading towards it. That's the space. And you know why I feel like I can speak a little bit to this is because I kind of see the landscape of media for me, and I'm like, damn, like I'm kind of scared of that politics realm. Why? Because you can get canceled in that realm. You might say the wrong things. You might say the wrong things for a black person, right? Because you might be a little bit sheltered in the fact that a lot of these guys are rich. A lot of these guys are celebrities, so it's not the same type of experience. And when you talk about politics, it gets very sentimental for black people because we typically get effed over time and time and time after with history, especially within America. So it's just like, I understand the fear, but I'm like, who else is going to do it? Y'all are our black media stars. Y'all are the biggest. I'm not asking Kai to become this huge political activist. I'm not asking Joe. I'm not asking Ak. I'm asking y'all to have these conversations, cause y'all can. Y'all choosing not to. I see different movements, right? And I'm like, all right, where's that movement? I see Joe getting into that bag a little bit more, and Ish, which is a new addition to the podcast, right? Ish being able to handle those conversations as well, which is why he's having Umar on, and hopefully he'll have Roland on, and hopefully he'll have Candace on and stuff like that. But this needs to be the elevation of black media as well, and new media, because I enjoy seeing traditional media tank as new media starts to take the cake. And the reason why I like that is because I don't want to see presidential candidates get it off easy. I don't want to see political candidates get it off easy, which a lot of traditional media allows. You know why? Because they all be in the same pockets of each other. But now, if the Democratic Party has to come and meet with Joe, if the Democratic Party has to come and meet with Roland, has to meet with the Breakfast Club, and all of them are actually prepped well with good talking points, bro, it's a wrap. If you inspire your viewers to go out and register, you inspire your viewers to go out and invest, right? Whatever expendable cash they got, invest, figure it out. It will move the needle. You know why?
One of the findings that the Wall Street Journal reported on recently, which was that black investors are now the biggest new group of retail investors, and goes on to say 68% of black Americans under 40 are now investing. So why is this trend emerging now?
I think it's incredible, first and foremost. I think that stat is incredible. And if you look at the start of when they began taking the statistic, it was around 2019. And so it just so happens that, we started our mission in 2019. And so I like to think that we had a little part to play in that. But it's encouraging because people are looking at themselves and saying, again, it goes back to that age-old adage, one income is too close to none. And it's tough to save your way to wealth.
I don't think y'all understand how monumental that is for us. Right? So it's only the beginning, but it's monumental. Doesn't mean that all these accounts have bread in it. No, they just mean that they're the new retail investors. They're opening up these accounts. I am one of them. And I can say this for now, right? I can say this right now. 2019, when EYL started, I started watching EYL with my friend at 2020. That's when I started investing. That's when I started watching the Joe Budden podcast as well. So a lot of this is interconnected because it's very personal for me, because I'm a product of it. All it takes is for these black media stars that are already not corny, very influential, very entertaining, to only just care about something a little bit enough so they can make it entertaining for their audience. Because it is entertaining. The stock market stuff is entertaining. I'm telling y'all, like my battery's about to die. But I'm saying, yo, bro, when you see your NVIDIA stock go up 30%, that means if I see my NVIDIA stock go up $600 within the last 6 months, they gonna be entertained. I'm entertained. I'm loving it. I'm feeling great. I'm in Ghana and I'm sitting on bread, seeing that rise. And a lot of students would love that. A lot of millennials would like that. Right? And that's something that these stars can speak to, or at least have somebody on that could speak to it very well. And yes, they might lose a little bit of viewers, but you're going to build a core audience that when you need to move from a platform to platform, let's say you get canceled or something like that, God forbid, right? You need to move from platform to platform. These people are going to follow you. It's a mobilization of the community. Remember, problem, solution, result. Problem is money. Solution is influence. Result, mobilization. They could help. They could fix this. Remember, 0% by 2050 or 2060. That's an alarming percentage. 0%. Our wealth is going to be 0%. with all these new black billionaires, still 0%. 0%.